Hello, hello. Comic Book Boys here to talk about the video game market, video game investing, and its growth. Wow. Um, been doing a bunch of research that I put together here for you guys, and I hope I provide some valuable information that can help you make informed decisions. I know that I'm making decisions based off of my research, and I'd like to share what I have here for you guys. So, we're going to start with some recent sales data from the latest Heritage auction for video games. We're going to talk about where current demand is coming from for video games currently, where future demand will come from when it comes down to video games, we will also be comparing it to supply and current supply and where I see supply going. We'll talk about sealed versus non-sealed games. Then we'll be going over the future supply shortage that I predict is going to occur in the video game marketplace. And I want to do a comparison to comic books because I think comic books provide a good guide. If you look at the prices of comics, they've been shooting up over the last 20 years, and I think that the supply of comics isn't equaling demand, which is why the price is shooting up. But I definitely think that we're going to see a greater imbalance in the video game marketplace, and I'm going to round it out for you guys at the end. So let's start with this like ridiculous Heritage auctions that just finished up on April 22nd. I mean, we had the first appearance of Sonic. For those of you that don't know, these games are graded by a company called WADA. There's a few different grading companies. They're graded on a scale of you have like a 9.8's the high, you have 9.6's, 9.4's, and so on and so forth, all the way down to low grade games. You have seals that can be A plus plus, would be a perfect seal. So seals are also rated. There's variants, like for those of you that know comic variants, there's like for instance, to give you an example, like there's for Pokemon Blue, there's a Rattata picture on the back of one of them, a Sandshrew picture on the back of the other one. The Sandshrew came first, Rattata came second. WWF WrestleMania, oval versus sphere front indicates the first versus second edition. So there's all sorts of little things you have to watch out for. But just a general overview, they're in these cases and they're graded, and most importantly, they're sealed. And I'll touch base on that later. So we had Sonic the Hedgehog sell for $360,000. That was the number one seller in this auction. Metroid sold for $168,000. Clue Land sold for $156K. Some really, 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 really big numbers coming into the comic book. So used to saying comic books. We used to talk about comic books, but coming into the video game marketplace, and these numbers are huge, quite frankly, and they're rivaling, some of the huge golden age comic book keys currently. So, where's the current demand coming from? That's the first thing I want to talk about in here where's the demand coming from? So who the heck is buying these games? Where is this coming from? So I think I think right now currently there are collectors that are very wealthy that invest in coins, invest in antiques, fine arts, paintings, like high end furniture. Wealthy people that literally want to diversify and they want to get into video games. I just don't think they necessarily know what the heck they're doing, so they're bidding up all sorts of random just video games that nobody played and nobody cared about in the 80s and the 90s, which is a fundamental problem. I feel like I'm qualified to pick video games because I know what I played with my friends when I was a kid. I know what I came home from school, ran downstairs and unwound the controllers and played with my buddies. I know what games were in the know. I'm a millennial, and millennial and the Gen X and millennials were video game players, and they're definitely going to factor in demand in the future. But I think the primary demand for these big ticket items are other investors coming from other industries. So by other industries, I mean like comic books, antiques, coins, et cetera, et cetera. So also I think demand is fueled currently by the millennials, by Gen X. And I think that there's some wealthy investors that are also millennials and Gen X that are bidding on these things. But I think the market has so much growth to go, and I think it's going to mirror something similar to what comic books did over the past 20 years. But I think it's going to be on steroids for a couple of critical reasons that I'm going to show you when it relates to the supply, and more importantly to seals. So let's get back on track here. So the future demand is going to come from millennials and Gen X as they acquire wealth. So there's a firm called Deloitte, and I did some research on millennials in general, and this was written back in 2015, where it says millennials financial assets are projected to grow from 1.4 trillion in 2015 to 11.3 trillion in 2030, a compound annual growth rate of nearly 15%. Millennials are going to be acquiring financial assets over the next 8 years, and it's 2022 now. Millennials are just going to keep gaining more and more and more wealth, and then obviously, as people pass away, assets get inherited by millennials. The generation that was playing video games is going to inherit money and have the capability to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and as crazy as that sounds, anywhere from $1,000 up to a couple $100,000 on games. Some people will, and it's going to really, really increase the demand for these collectibles. Like, millennials don't care about comic books anywhere near at the rate that they do about video games. The average comic book collector is in their late 40s to their early 60s to mid 60s. Like, and I sell to them all the time. I'm friends with a lot of them, but they just don't carry over to the video game arena. So as millennials acquire wealth, it's directly going to translate into what the millennials are interested in, that they're going to put money into. So I did a little Google search over here. So let's see, where did I find it? So top millennial activities. So this is just literally what do millennials like to do. It's just, obviously here, whatever. So 12 industries that'll thrive. Number 1, gaming. 15 hobbies millennials like to do. 20 Gen X and millennials, 20 favorite things to do for fun. Let's dive in here. Watch TV, watch movies, play video games, mobile games. Like, these kids, grew up on games, play video games. Like, this is what hobbies do millennial have. What females say are their favorite hobbies differ from what males say, but overall the most popular hobbies for millennials and Gen X in order are gaming, followed by music, sports, and art. So the most, and obviously you can do your own research, but these are the top results right here, and that's what they're going to put their money into. That's what's going to be sentimental to them. They grew up on Super Nintendo. They grew up on Nintendo. They grew up on Sega Genesis, and they loved these games. So I'm speaking from experience. I myself, when I was a kid, would literally go down. I grew up Catholic, and we would celebrate Christmas, and I would go down to the Christmas tree a week before Christmas. And my mom put out the gifts, and because Santa Claus would always, for some reason, put gifts out early at my house. But I would cut these things open, retape them after extracting the CD from inside of the PlayStation games, and be playing them. Or I would do the same thing with Sega Genesis games when I was a kid. So I was always really loving these games. And I tell you what, I think there's a tremendous opportunity with these things. Sealed versus non-sealed games. So really, really important here. The games that you or that I want to collect and acquire need to be sealed. If you look, here's a quick video. If you look here, we could see what kids do today to Nintendo Switch games. I just was looking around on YouTube. Let me move this over here. Let's play this video. Like, look at the floor. Look at how everything's shredded. Look at this kid just opening up this console, ripping into it. Look at them screaming and yelling, making noise, thrilled. Look at this kid. He's opening it. Oh, look at him. He's sniffing it, getting his. I think he just put some serious. Who knows what he just put on that? But there goes. That seal is going to be open in about. Oh, he's licking it. Oh my goodness, that just went from an A++ to a C++ because of kid juice. So look, the like, look at this. Like, this is the same experience I had when I was a kid. I'd get these games and I'd go run and I'd open them immediately and start playing them. This kid's playing that game. Look at that father son hug right there. Look at that. Like, that is pure happiness, and that's been going on since the late '80s and early '90s for video games. And I mean, let's come over here. I found this other video of this kid like just ripping open the console. They rip open the console and they rip open the games. So this thing's in this, we're in the middle where it says that seal of A plus on that $360,000 Sonic means that the game is still encased in the original seal and it's A plus. So and there are very, 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 very few of these things currently. If we look over here, this is the grading company that a lot of these games are featured in. It's called Wata Games, and I was looking up Home Alone for a reason, but let me pull up let me make sure we're in Sega Genesis. Let me pull up like Sonic. Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog. There's 34 copies of that game graded sealed. If you go on eBay and I look up, let's go like Sonic Sega Genesis. There's going to be a lot of them in here for a lot cheaper because everyone opened these things and played them. But when it comes to the value, it's in the sealed games, high grade boxes, cased up. Like, there's literally only currently what is that? That's 34 of those things, and that game was what was the grade of that game that just sold? It was a 9.8 A plus. Wata doesn't tell us necessarily what the seal is, but there's only 5 of those in existence, and that's just gonna, I just don't see a ton more supply coming, especially not at the rate that millennials bought these things. So if we look at some of the list of the best selling like Super Nintendo games, like there was 20,610,000 of these things sold for Super Mario World. I mean, for Amazing Spider-Man 1, one of the most popular comics that, it doesn't even need to be sealed. It still has value, even if it's damaged at the wazoo. Even in a 2.0 or 2.5, that's a $12,000 comic book now. So literally, I just all these games were just opened immediately, and I just don't see there being enough supply to accommodate all the people that love Super Mario World. Let's look at Sega Genesis. Let's go list of best selling Sega Genesis games. Let's see right here. Let's take a look. Open this bad boy up. Let's see. Oh, great! You're gonna mess with me here. Let's not play around here. Great. What is that? What does that even mean? It's not gonna let me see that. What is this garbage? Hello, internet. This is Earth. What's going on here? Refresh. Okay, well, whatever. We can see that. Hold on. Okay, so it's working here. So list of best-selling Sega Genesis games. Sonic the Hedgehog. Literally the most popular game. 15 million copies sold. Are you kidding me? And you're telling me that there's only currently 34 and 5 that are 9.8? I just don't see enough sealed games coming to the market as millennials acquire more money and this market expands. So I really see a lot of expansion here. So what I want to do is the future supply shortage is what I was just talking about. I just don't think there's going to be the supply of sealed games to stop these things from going absolutely to the moon, and then probably to Mars, and then probably to Saturn, and then possibly, some little alien's going to be flying by in some distant galaxy and going to get hit in the head by the price of these video games in 20 years, because I just don't think there's supply. And that's just my personal opinion. A lot of people may think, they're entitled to their own opinions, but I'm just looking at what millennials loved, millennials' wealth. I think there's going to be a supply shortage, and I think it's going to look something like the comic market's explosion on steroids. If we look, this is a chart of a comic book called Amazing Spider-Man 1 and its average price over the years in a certain grade. I'll keep it super simple for those of you that don't know what this tool does. It just basically tracks the sales price. You could see that the average price going up 4,400, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 over the years up to 2022, where in 2002 it was about 2,690, 2022, it was 3,000. And if you look at the supply of that comic, uh, there's 4,426 of them through CGC plus CBCS, and they certainly didn't need to be sealed. So I think there's a ton of for instance that Sonic game was so many people played it, so many people loved it. It's a home run. It's a guaranteed home run. So really, really, really excited about it. And in conclusion, we're definitely here at the Comic Book Boys ourselves buying these video games, and these aren't flips. These aren't things that we're thinking about, holding for a few weeks and selling on eBay for $50 profit. These are things that are potential home run hitters. Obviously, we still collect comics and love comics, but we are really, really fired up about the potential of what these video games could do. I mean, outside of like any major scandals that break out, and as long as the integrity of the market's preserved. Obviously, there's market manipulation that goes on in the collectibles industry. You hear about it online, you can research it, but overall, this is the real deal. People love video games. Sealed games are, in my opinion, rare. And I think millennials are just going to drive the market price up higher and higher, and there's just not going to be a supply. So pending any crazy scandals, like, we got to, have like Watergate status scandals, I think this thing's going to the moon. So that's our take on video games, and hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.